this second sessions by Ashutosh, Professor, Assistant Professor, Associate Technology College, Chimur. Now I hand over this session to Dilish for the session.
Hello. A very good morning to all of present here. I'm Tilesh Murle, today's host, MA English second year, Godwana University, virtually. First of all, I would like to welcome today's chief guest and speaker, Mr. Ashutosh Professor, Assistant Professor of English in Rashtrasanta Tukdoji College, Chimur, District, Chandrapur. I would like to welcome Dr. Joshi sir, HOD of PGTD English Department, Gondwana University, Gadchiroli. And I would like to welcome today's all the faculties members and participants. This is the third edition of No Age Series 2.0 and second session, which is organized by faculty member PGTD English Department, Gondwana University, Gadchiroli. The purpose of this series to expose the teaching students fraternity with the latest development and career prospect in the field of English language and literature. The series invites the various speakers for the deliberation. Today's our chief guest lecturers is Mr. Ashutosh Professor, Assistant Professor of English in Rashtrasanta Tukdoji College, Chimbur, District, Chandrapur. Sir has done their education in MA English, NetSet, and working as an assistant professor from 2016. Sir has attained two courses. They are one of the UGC HRDC sponsored orientation course from HRDC ITM Nagpur University, Nagpur with grade A, and second is UGC HRDC sponsored refresher course in English, Literature and Language from HRDC Jamia Millia Islamia University, New Delhi with grade A. Sir has awarded for two times, one of co-editor of the magazine Akar, which received the second prize in Gondwana University, Gadchiroli annual magazine competition 2022-2021, and second is Ravindranath Tagore International Poetry Competition Prize 2021 and 2022, organized by Poesis Hyderabad for the poem "The Wind is Growling in My Head" in memory of the innocent lives died of COVID-19. Sir has organized college conference seminars for college as organizer for 7 times, such as national level conference on Rashtrasanta Tukdoji Maharaj, personality and work 2019 to 20. Then second, national level conference on mental health and stress management 2019 to 2020, such as IQAC sponsored one-day multidisciplinary national e-conference on 75 years of Indian independence on 1st November 2021, etc. Then Sir has organized invited guest lecturer for a student for 5 times, such as Professor Amit Pitare, Assistant Professor of English, Women's College of Arts and Commerce, Nagpur. Second, Professor Mohit Save, Assistant Professor of English, Vivekananda College, Bhadravati, etc. And Sir has worked as a editor on a book for college for 3 times, such as first is for a special volume on Rashtrasanta Tukadoji Maharaj, personality and work, Ajanta, here reviewed, referred journal volume. Then second is an edited volume on Mahatma Phule life and work, caste discrimination, and countering the narratives of purity and impurity in the postmodern age. And third one is a social volume on Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, UGC Care General and Journal of Kala, Sarovar and Tiffin. Sir has done research work in published several papers in UGC listed here, reviewed and referred journal and conference and seminars. So today's topic is the subalterns communities, the problem of identity and the partition novel. It is related to the subalterns communities. So in post-colonial theory, in terms, subalterns describes the lower social classes and the other social groups displayed to the margins of a society in an imperial colony. A subaltern is a native man or woman without human agency as defined by his and her social status. So we are already eagerly waiting to listen to the sir. So I would like to welcome Mr. Ashutosh Professor and hand over this session to discuss.
I think I have been muted, sir. Okay, okay. Okay, am I audible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So thank you so much for such a wonderful personal introduction given by uh, Dr. Mohurle sir. The topic selected by me in today's lecture is subaltern communities, problems of identity, and the partition novel. First of all, let me express my gratitude to head of the Department of English, Dr. Vivek Joshi sir, my colleague, Dr. Vivek Meshram sir, and other members of the postgraduate teaching department of English, Gondwan Gadchiroli. As sir has already talked about the issue of subaltern. A subaltern is a person without any agency or without any voice, as we call it. Now, if we talk about the subaltern, the idea of subaltern is basically borrowed from the great philosopher Antonio Gramsci. Gramsci coined the term subaltern in order to identify the cultural hegemony. Now we are about the idea what hegemony is and what are the special characters of hegemony are basically are. So cultural hegemony actually exclude and displace. Let me repeat my word: excludes and displaces particular communities so and social groups as well from socio-economic institutions of society, and they also deny it any agency or voice. So what Tilesar has what mentioned is perfectly correct, that subaltern community is a community without any voice. But let me make it quite simple. Subaltern community is a community between oppressed and the oppressor. A subaltern community is a community between the oppressed and the oppressor. Now, when we talk about the oppressed, you may have the example of colonized people which are oppressed. Okay. At the same oppressor, the colonizer, British colonizer, we may take as an example of as oppressor. Now, the people who are between these communities, the oppressed and oppressors, we call them subaltern communities. So my topic is not basically on subaltern community, how it has become so much popular term. It was used by Antonio Gramsci, and then it was later on, it was used by Gayatri Chakravarti Spivak in her wonderful essay, Can the Subaltern Speak? Okay. Now, when I read the essay of Spivak, there are some statements which basically cautions us against the use of the term subaltern, that you cannot be using the term subaltern for each and every community. You need to understand what exactly makes that particular community a subaltern community. Okay. But for the purpose of simplification and also for the purpose of more clarification, I have used the term subaltern for the Dalit people, the tribal people, and also the people of Shudra community. And the area is basically the partition novels. Partition novels, I have taken the two partition novel. You might have heard their names as well. The first is MJ Akbar's Blood Brothers, which is the story of the three generation of a Muslim family. It is basically autobiographical novel, but it is a novel as well. It is some of the elements in the novel are basically fictional element as well. Then the second novel I have taken is Bhishma Sahani's Tamas. Tamas literally meaning darkness. Darkness, which is a metaphor for the period of partition. So I have taken these two novels for as samples to understand what exactly the idea of subalternity is and how the subaltern communities have been continuously denied any identity in the partition novels. Okay. So let us first talk about the personal introduction of the writer Bhishma Sahani. Yeah, Bhishma Sahani is he was a very popular writer. He was born in the present day Pakistan, in the city of Rawalpindi, present day Pakistan, in British India as British India. Bhishma Saini was a Hindi writer. He was an actor, teacher, translator, and more than that, he was also a professor of English as well. He completed his MA English from Government College in Lahore, and later on, he also participated in the Quit India movement started by Mahatma Gandhi as well. So this is all about Bhishma Saini. Then MJ Akbar, the name is not unfamiliar to us, maybe for good reason or maybe for bad reason. I'm not going to quote what the bad reasons are, but I'm going to tell you about the good reason. Good reason is that Mubashir Javed Akbar, the full name of MJ Akbar is Mubashir Javed Akbar, and he is an Indian journalist as well as famous columnist, and he has authored several books, and he is also he was a member of parliament between 1989 and 1991. And some of the most famous works of this great man are the Nehru, the Making of India, which is the biography of Jawaharlal Nehru. The second is Kashmir Behind the Veil, Riot After Riot and India, The Siege Within. And he has also authored the book called The Shed of Swords, A History of Jihad. And then the novel under study, Blood Brothers, A Family Saga. Now, first of all, let me talk about the plot of the novel Tamas. Okay. The novel Tamas begins with the efforts of Congress Working Committee members who are shown to be working, who are shown to be doing some hygienic work, some hygienic duties, some cleanliness duties in the Muslim locality, despite the antagonism and resistance by the local Muslim people, especially the workers of Muslim League. Now, if you try to understand the Gandhian ideal, Mahatma Gandhi and his idea of freedom, how freedom should be. So, freedom should not only mean India should be independent from British rule, but it also takes into consideration certain ideas like conservation, sociological problems should be solved, ecological problems should be solved, because colonization has not only exploited the people, colonized people financially. Colonization has not only exploited the colonized people financially, but it has also exploited them in a different way, especially by inflicting upon them unhygienic and careless living. Their environment is also very much tainted. So the Gandhian ideal always include the idea of having these ideals in the freedom movement, and therefore, in the very beginning, we have been shown some Congress Working Committee members who are basically the followers of the Mahatma Gandhi. They were doing some hygienic work in the Muslim locality, and these ideas are therefore quite central to the novel as well, because the novel also moves between the uh, two binary opposition, purity and impurity. So on the one hand you have purity, on the one hand you have impurity which is being targeted by the Gandhian workers in the Muslim locality. But what happens in the later part of the novel, when the hygienic work is being done by the Working Committee member, a very strange incidents take place. The purity of a mosque, that is masjid, purity of a mosque is being tainted by some miscreants, some people who do not want the peace between. Uh, is somebody trying to speak? Okay, okay,
Nilesh, Nilesh, kindly
okay,
mute all the
Sir.
participants. Kindly mute all the
okay,
participants.
okay. Okay, so the ecology of nationalism could not sustain for long because the purity of a mosque was tainted by some people, and the result is that an immediate action was also taken by the opponent community, who also, with no time, had taken revenge upon the Hindu people by tainting the purity of temple as well. So because of that, the very ecology of Gandhian nationalism is being tainted, and riot began in the city. People uh, wanted to kill each other because their religious sentiments are basically hurt. Now, at the center of this mischief, at the center of this incident, you will see a character. Let me repeat the name of the character. His name is Nathu. Now, the purity of a mosque is tainted by throwing a pig at the gate of the mosque. By throwing a pig, a dead pig, at the gate of a mosque, and the pig was killed by a member of the low caste community, and his name was Nathu. Now, Nathu did not have idea that the pig was actually going to provoke violence in the city. He thought that the pig was going to be used for some sort of medical experiment. He has a person, he has a superior over him. That superior person ordered him to bring the pig to the doctor, but it was the pig which was used to tend the purity of the mass. When the purity of the mass was tainted by the pig, Nathu didn't realize that it was the same pig which was used by those people to provoke, to stroke violence in the city. But later on, he realizes the mistake. In the uh, in the very beginning of the novel, Nathu is shown to be struggling with the pig. Nathu is shown to be struggling because he had not killed the pig before. So he was shown to be struggling with the pig. He wanted to kill the pig, but pig seems to be quite sturdy, and he uh, Nathu was not able to kill the pig quite easily. So when ultimately he kills the pig, the lamp which was kept burning in the dark in that room, it automatically gets extinguished, and the tamas or darkness spread inside the room. So novel somehow symbolically try to show that the very mistake of Nathu, very mistake of Nathu is actually responsible for the riot and bloodshed that happened in the city after the 10th of March. So Nathu is basically the main culprit. So the burden of partition in a broad sense and the burden of violence in the city is put on the head of a low cost member who did not have the idea that he is being used as a tool for political gain. So this is the thing that which we should critically try to understand why it is that the blame of violence has been put on the head of a low cost member. It is because it is because the idea of social impurity, it is because the idea of social impurity is associated with this community, with the low caste community. They are thought to be having some kinds of trait which we call impure trait, or their living in unhygienic. So the hygienic efforts of Gandhian workers were disrupted by the unhygienic act of a low caste person like Nathu. However intentionally it may be, but writer is able to make him a culprit. So my question is that why it is that the burden of violence has been put on the head of Nathu rather than the political ambition of person like Murad Ali, who is his superior, and it was Murad Ali who planned to throw the dead pig in front of the gate of that mosque. So instead of putting blame on Murad Ali, Nathu is made as a culprit in the novel. So this is something we should be critically thinking about it. Next, now this is the case with Thomas, but if you carefully read almost all the partition novel, they do not have space for the subaltern communities, as if the partition was only experienced by the upper caste people, of Punjab or Bengal. They came from Pakistan and settled down into different cities of India, or the people who came to Pakistan and then they settled down in different cities of Pakistan. But where are these people? Where are the tribal people? Where are the Dalit people? Where are these people who do not have any note? Their historical record is completely suppressed. Their historical record is completely annihilated from the pages of history. And what is the reason of this? याचं नेमकं कारण काय असलं पाहिजे की त्यांचा रेकॉर्ड जो आहे पूर्णपणे त्यांनी नष्ट केलेला आहे याच्यामध्ये, की those people who also face the pangs of partition perhaps more than the upper caste people. So why it is that we see the Punjabistan? Why it is that we see the Punjabistan in the partition novel? Why it is that when we talk about partition, we always talk about the suffering felt by upper caste Hindus, suffering suffering underwent by the Sikh people or the Muslim people. But why it is that we don't talk about the suffering of tribal people, Dalit people, or those people who live under the uh, social margin? So this is the question that Ravinder Kaur has raised in her article, that and she said that the distinctive body of untouchable experiences is ignored and superseded by the oft narrated dominant narrative of middle classes in Punjabi migrant society. She wants to say that it is the Punjabi migrant society, upper caste Punjabi society, and their narrative always dominate over the partition novel, while the people who live below the margin, the subaltern people like Dalit people, tribal people, or people of the Shudra community, they do not have any voice in the partition novel. This is something we should be discussing. We should be looking critically. Yes, the next point, the next novel. I'm going to start with the next novel. The next novel is Blood Brothers. Okay, MJ Akbar is very famous personality, maybe for some good reason, maybe also for some bad reasons. Uh, the novel Blood Brother tells us the story of the three generation of MJ Akbar's family. MJ Akbar basically he started his novel with Prayag. Prayag is the central character in the novel, Prayag, and Prayag is shown to be a Kshatriya. Let me repeat that point. Prayag is the central character in the novel, and Prayag is shown to be a Kshatriya by Varna. He is not shown to be a person of low caste, a person who like Shudra. He is shown as Kshatriya, and this Prayag become Rahmat. So Prayag becomes a symbol. He becomes a symbol of the confluence of Hindu Muslim culture. He became a bridge which unites upper caste Hindus and Muslim people of the locality. And the novel also tells us about the partition, communal riots which follows the partition, and the alienation which failed by the central figure in the novel, Prayag, who becomes Rahmat and who went to the city of Dhaka, and there he felt alienation. There he felt that he is different. The people who live around him are different, and then came the idea of Tal nationalism. Tal national, the idea of India. What exactly is India? India is basically uh, divided by culture. India is basically divided by culture, but united in spirit. Our spirit is one. Our soul is one. So this is definitely the great idea that we have seen in the novel, that the central character of Rahmat, who went to Dhaka, he came back to India, and perhaps he was some of those eccentric Muslims. Let me repeat that word, eccentric Muslim, विचित्र मुस्लिम. कारण आपण म्हणतो की मुस्लिम लोकांसाठी पाकिस्तान बनलेला आहे, पण हा जो व्यक्ती आहे जो मुस्लिम आहे पण तो भारतामध्ये ही इज कमिंग बॅक टू इंडिया, and he is coming back to India to live alongside his blood brothers. Now who are the blood brothers? Upper caste Hindus, not the lower caste Hindus. Let me repeat my words. Upper caste Hindu as his blood brothers, and he came back to live alongside his Muslim blood brothers. Okay? So the idea of Hindu Muslim unity, the idea of Hindu Muslim unity, which was presented by MJ Akbar in his novel, is based upon the idea of the unity of upper caste Hindu, the unity of upper caste Hindus and their Muslim brothers. And here he does not provide any space to the lower caste people. Here he does not provide any place to the people of the tribal community, people of the Dalit community. Even Shudra people are getting rebuke in his novel. So here we have the real villain in the story. Now let me talk about why Govardhan Ahir. Govardhan Ahir, a low caste protagonist, not protagonist, not his antagonist. Okay. So Govardhan Ahir, he is the villain in the story. He is presented as a villain in the story. Now, why he is villain in the story? Because he is someone who championed the radical Hinduism. He's someone who brought about reformation in his own community. He is someone who stopped the cow slaughter at the hands of Muslim on Muslim festivals. And he is someone who claims over the sacred Jenu. Now, Jenu is not the right of a low caste people. Whatever they do, Jenu has to be limited to a particular community. It cannot be extended to that community. So when Govardhan Ahir was found to be wearing Janu and taking a dip into the river, he was rebuked by upper caste people for wearing the sacred Janu, because it is against the law of the scriptures that low caste people should not be wearing the Janu. But at the same time, if the character of Govardhan Ahir reassert himself. He reassert his character that no, I did this for Hindu religion, I did that for Hindu religion, I stopped the cow slaughter by Muslims, I brought about reformation in my society, I did everything for the protection of Sanatan Dharma. Then why it is that the people of Sanatan Dharma are not allowing me to have sacred Janu? He asks questions. And what we see in the novel that MJ Akbar has presented Govardhan Ahir as the enemy of Hindu Muslim unity. Why it is that a low caste person like in the last novel Tamas, we have Nathu. Nathu is the villain in the last novel. However unintentional his act may be, but he is the villain in the last novel because He was responsible for the carnage in the city. He was responsible for the violence in the city. He was the agent who was used by Murad Ali to provoke violence between Hindus and Muslims of the city. And in fact, the burden of partition is put on his head. And here also, another novel, the burden of partition is put on the head of Govardhan Ahir, the enemy of Hindu Muslim unity, the enemy of secular India is in the novel is Govardhan Ahir. Here in the novel of MJ Akbar. So this is something which we again should critically think about it. Ki why it is that the people of Dalit community, the people of tribal community, the people of low caste community or people of Shudra community, why it is that they are being presented in negative light? Why it is that they are shown to be having no affiliation to any nation? Dr. Ambedkar Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar once said to Mahatma Gandhi that Gandhiji, I do not have a nation. Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar once said to Mahatma Gandhiji, Sir Gandhiji, I do not have nation. Mala Matrubhumi nai, mala Rashtra nai, mala Desh nai. I do not have motherland. Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar said, what is the reason of this? Is this the same reason that we are experiencing here, that the history of low caste people, their role in freedom movement, their participation in freedom movement, their suffering pain in the period before and after the partition have been completely decanonized by the mainstream novelist. And what we see in the novel is basically the upper caste narratives always dominate over the narratives of these people. So this is something which we should critically talk about. Now, uh, upper caste Hindus and their Muslim brothers in the novel Blood Brothers are seen as stakeholders. They are seen as stakeholder of the idea of India. The idea of India, which is basically based upon the Gandhian ideal of Hindu Muslim unity. So Hindu Muslim unity is okay, that is good. Hindu Muslim unity, perfect, fine. But what kind of unity? When Hindus themselves are divided, when Hindus themselves are not one, then what kind of unity should Hindus expect with the Muslims brothers? And what kind of brotherhood they are going to form? Is this the brotherhood of upper caste Hindus and upper class Muslim people? The same thing you will see in the novel. Why it is that the writer said that he belongs to a particular varna? Why it is that the writer said that he belongs to Kshatriya Varna? Why doesn't he say that he belongs to this Varna, he belongs to a low caste Varna? He does not say in the novel. So we will see that the novel actually present to us some of the ideas which we should critically analyze. The upper castes are rational people. Upper castes are rational people. Upper castes are peace loving people. They are peace loving communities, and they have the value of nationalism. They represent the value of nationalism. Their ideas are constructive. While on the other hand, through the character of Govardhan Ahir, who championed the radical Hinduism, who championed the rights of Hindus, who stopped the violence against the Hindus, who stopped the cow slaughter, is being seen as somebody who is attacking these religious principles or religious tenets. So this is Govardhan Ahir is seen as a destructive force in the novel. He is seen as somebody who is dominated by irrational ideology. So this is something we should also talk about or discuss in the novel. Let me start the next slide. Just a minute. Okay. Now, the history of untouchable or lower caste, however inconsequential or less worthy to be taken note of, hence less influential to be accepted in the history of nation. So here my conclusion is that the history of untouchable, history of Dalit people, the history of tribal people, Shudra people, it is seen as less worthy to be taken note of in the partition novel. In the novel Blood Brothers, untouchables, the people uh, who are under the Shudra community or the people who are outside the Varna system, they are shown as living only for food. Their reality is more or less like animals. Now, why should I use the word animals for the untouchables? Untouchable are presented at animal both in Thomas as well as in Blood Brothers. They are shown as merely waiting for food, or they do not have any kind of ideology, any kind of good thinking. They are like only animals who do not have any identity, on who may belong to anywhere. Wherever they go, that region become theirs. So it was like that. During the partition, Hindu people decided to go back to India. During the partition, Muslim people decided to go back to Pakistan. But where should we go? Where should these people should go? Where is their nation? Where is their identity? Novel Thomas and the novel Blood Brother do not answer the question of the identity of low caste people, the identity of uh, Shudra people, or the people of tribal people or Dalit people. Where do they belong? Or are they only like animals having no identity at all? So identity question here emerged as a one of the biggest question in the both the novels. Uh, the novels also misrepresented the history and identity of the lower castes and untouchable. And it also decanonized untouchable from the mainstream narratives. The novel also talks about the role played by uh, Periyar Ramaswamy, Dr. Ambedkar, as only the supporters of Barrister Jinnah rather than their constructive role in the making of India. So this is something also which we should critically talk about in the novel. The novel Blood Brothers, it started with Prayag. Now Prayag is basically a word used in Hindu religion. It is a metaphor. It is a symbolism for some kind of confluence of two cultures, Ganga Jamuna culture as we call it. And Govardhan Ahir is shown as the enemy of this culture. He is ill-treated by upper caste for wearing the sacred Janayu. Though he defended the radical Hinduism, though he protected the cow, but Govardhan Ahir does not have any right to wear sacred Janayu. In fact, in an assembly which was shown in the novel, all the upper caste people, they spit upon him. They rebuke him for violating the Sanatan Dharma, because Sanatan Dharma does not allow a Shudra people, whatever he does, even he sacrifices his own life for the protection of Sanatan Dharma. Sanatan Dharma does not allow a Shudra people to have this Janayu, or to have something which is specially reserved for the upper caste people. The sacred cord, which was the mark of a Brahmin, it was unconceivable and unforgivable that mere Vaishya like lower caste Gavla should wear it, even though Govardhan Ahir claims to be a descendant of Lord Krishna. In the novel, Govardhan Ahir claims to be a descendant of Lord Krishna. My community is from Lord Krishna. We brought up Lord Krishna. We are the protector of faith of Hinduism. He said all those things. He advocated his point of view perfectly in front of the crowd. But in spite of that, Govardhan Ahir was presented as a villain. He is insulted. He is humiliated. So this is the lot that every Shudra community, every uh, Dalit people, every person who is below the social margin have to face the lot. And this is the lot of these people, which we talk about subaltern communities. Their history is always decanonized. They have been wiped out from the pages of partition novels. Partition novel do not talk about their suffering, their issues, their miseries during and after the partition. In the novel, Thomas Nathu is being rebuked by his wife for having collected money from at the hands of Murad Ali, who is basically a political agent. She put that money into fire because she did not want to buy anything from that money, because the money had the blood of innocent on it. So she decided, obviously, Bhishma Sani had done more justice with the Dalit character than MJ Akbar. Bhishma Sani has presented in a real way the lives of Dalit during the partition period, their helpless condition, the way they were afraid during and after partition, their miserable condition is perfectly presented in the novel. However, he is not able to do justice with the real cause of partition, which is the mistakes made by political leadership, not the mischief which was carried out at the hands of character like Nathu, or the villainy presented by character like Govardhan Ahir. So this is something also take uh, we should take seriously about in the novel. Next slide. Okay. Next slide, sir. I think that is all, sir. If I'm going to have some questions from audiences. Hello, am I audible, sir?
Sir. Thank you,
Yes.
sir. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. I have been provided only 45 minutes. I think my time is up.
Thank you so much, sir, to introduce the most famous writer, M.J. Akbar and Bhishma Sahani also. So now we will go ahead to take some questions. If you anyone want to ask any questions to related this session, you can unmute yourself and ask, or you can send your questions in a chat box. Sir, there is one question.
Okay.
From Sapna, our participant.
Okay.
Sir, subalterns are seem to be oppressed and misunderstood. So, how can we know their history and know their true identity?
So it is basically very difficult to understand the identity of subaltern community because there is no history. They do not have history. They do not have any belongings. They do not have anything which we acknowledge. But there are certain narratives, certain stories. For example, if you want to know the history of tribal leaders like Kano, Sidho Kano, you might have heard about Sidho Kano. Okay? So Sidho Kano's history is available, and that history is orally transmitted from generation to generation. So if you want to know the history of subaltern community, you need to talk to the people of those community who actually have those oral narratives. So obviously, if you focus on oral narratives, you will be able to understand the identity of subaltern narrative, their role in history, how they have performed during the period of freedom movement. For example, we have the example of Birsa Munda. Now, a few years before, the name of Birsa Munda was completely lost from the pages of history. I think only 2 or 3 lines there I could read about Birsa Munda, that he was the champion of Bihar and he defeated British people. But mainstream partition novels, they talk quite less about Birsa Munda. So uh, I think this is the answer.
Yeah.
Hmm. Is there any other question? Any questions, sir?
No, sir. Now, thank you so much, sir.
Okay.
And thank you so much to
Dilesh.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Can we ask all participants to switch on their cameras so that we can have a group photo of this session?
Okay. Okay.
And also request to Dr. Popte to stop sharing screen. So
Okay, sir.
all the participants will be visible.
Okay. Sir, am I visible to you?
You are, but you are a little blur. What is the reason? Maybe are you accessing this through a laptop or what?
Yes, sir. I think there is some issue with web camera.
Oh, okay.
Sir, I'm joining my profile right now.
You have joined from 2 devices, so can you try on the alternative devices?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Please try so. And stop sharing the screen, Latilesh, so that we can have a group photo on this screen.
Yes.
Okay, sir. Am I visible now?
No, doctor. Are you sitting in some dark area?
Okay, sir.
Are you sitting in some dark area?
Just a minute.
Dilesh.
Yes.
Meanwhile, enable stop sharing and remove this presentation slide from the main screen.
Am I visible now? Hello?
No. Now you are visible.
Okay.
We are waiting for everyone to switch on their cameras, please. Sapna, Sanjana. Maybe this is a formality, but we need these photographs because these will be memories for us. When we'll go back to 0320, we'll have these photographs as our memory. So I'm going to click now. Thank you all. Thank you. Now you can switch off your cameras. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for providing me this wonderful opportunity. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank